French forces are now in control of the airport in Abidjan and are using the airport to evacuate fleeing foreign nationals and to bring in an additional 300 troops to reinforce United Nations peacekeeping forces. Pro-Ouattara forces are now in control of much of Ivory Coast. The international community is calling on both sides to avoid attacking civilians.
VOA West Africa correspondent Scott Stearns has more on the tense situation engulfing Ivory Coast.
Fighters loyal to Ivory Coast's internationally recognized President Alassane Ouattara are massing troops for another push on Abidjan's presidential palace. They swept through much of the country last week, capturing the political capital Yamoussoukro and the port of San Pedro. But they met fiercer resistance in Abidjan, where troops still loyal to incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo are well armed and well defended. French forces took control of Abidjan's airport after Gbagbo troops there surrendered to United Nations peacekeepers. France is using the airport to evacuate foreign nationals and bring in another 300 reinforcements. Mr. Ouattara's government is calling on French forces to play a stronger role in the crisis and wants the UN Security Council to authorize its peacekeepers to remove Mr. Gbagbo's heavy weapons. Mr. Gbagbo's government says French troops are behaving like an army of occupation because they have no mandate to occupy a sovereign state's airport. Gbagbo aide Alain Toussaint spoke with reporters in Paris.
The
United States and France are not entitled to determine who will decide the destiny of Ivory Coast. All these words contribute to adding fuel to the fire. The U.S. and France have only contributed towards worsening the tensions since the end of the second round of the presidential election. These are two leading powers who are behaving irresponsibly in Ivory Coast.
The fighting in Abidjan has caused shortages of fuel and food for civilians who are only allowed to be outside their homes between dawn and noon.
We have nothing left to eat at home. I only have one fish left at home in the fridge. After that, I don't know what I'll do.
None of the main roads into Abidjan are safe enough for farmers to bring their goods to market.
There are many things that we don't have anymore. Rice, bananas, many things. Vegetables, because they don't get here anymore. There are truly many shortages.
While pro-Ouattara forces control most of the country, they have not yet captured Mr. Gbagbo's base of support in southeast provinces here along the border with Ghana. Local police say they've arrested and disarmed nearly 70 Gbagbo paramilitary who crossed the border with their weapons.
Let's get more on the fast-moving story from correspondent Scott Stearns, who is on the phone with us now. Scott, welcome to the show. Now, Scott, you are at the border between Ivory Coast and Ghana. What are the people fleeing the fighting telling you about what's happening in the country?
Some of the Ivorians who crossed the border here into Ghana, as you heard in that package, are members of the military, the Gbagbo military, who fled the town of Adzope when pro-Ouattara fighters took that town last week. Other people who crossed the border are Gbagbo supporters who feared that the Ouattara forces would continue to push down here into the southeastern corner of Ivory Coast. That does not appear to have been the case. Ouattara rebels seem to have more or less stopped the southern push at Adzope and moved back across into the center of the country for this final assault on Abidjan. So while the pro-Ouattara forces do control most of the country, the southeast corner, which is the base of support for Laurent Gbagbo, his considerably powerful First Lady, Simone Gbagbo, remains in the hands of Gbagbo loyalists, as I saw here at the border. That is still Force de Défense et Sécurité.
Yes.
That's these Gbagbo forces who are in control of the border.
Okay. Scott, does the forceful presence of the French forces in Abidjan and, of course, the activities we're witnessing imply that talks on peaceful resolution to this conflict are now off the table completely?
Yes, I think that's been the direction for several weeks now. Through repeated mediation by West African leaders, by the West African Regional Alliance, by the African Union, it became clear that Mr. Gbagbo was unwilling to accept any solution to this crisis did not include him continuing to be president. Mr. Gbagbo spoke repeatedly about the power, the legal power of the Constitutional Council, which I know was fraudulent, nearly 10% of all ballots cast, to make Mr. Gbagbo the president. What he did not mention is that specifically for the second round of elections, the United Nations wants to certify the results. And the United Nations certified results that from the Electoral Commission that said Mr. Ouattara won the election. This now is clearly something that will be solved militarily, but it must be said that the pro-Ouattara forces have had a harder time of it than they expected. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week, they were moving across the country quickly. They entered Abidjan late Thursday, took large parts of the neighborhood as they drove not only on Mr. Gbagbo's residence in Makori, but also in the presidential palace in Abidjan. And Mr. Gbagbo has once again survived.
Okay.
And they had 5 units in Abidjan. They're well defended. They're armed. They called for reinforcements. This is a situation that will resolve itself militarily, but it's far from over.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. That's Scott Stearns, our correspondent in West Africa, on the border between Ivory Coast and Ghana. I want to apologize for that line, not so clear, but at least we got some insight on what's happening over there.